Enzo Maresca joins Pep Guardiola as the next manager who won his first 3 away games, showcasing how Enzo Maresca is actually impacting Chelsea and how incredible Chelsea are away from home. Now, in our video today, we are going to try and tactically analyze how Chelsea demolished West Ham. This was a complete performance by Chelsea, very impressive, and we are going to try and analyze how did Chelsea actually do it. Now, let's look at the lineups that the teams were actually set up in. Let's look at what Chelsea actually lined up with. So Chelsea lined up with a 4-2-3-1 and West Ham lined up with a 4-3-3. The lineup is quite close to what I predicted. The back four remains as I predicted. The difference is Pedro Neto, Madueke actually started ahead of Pedro Neto, but the entire lineup, as I had predicted, actually started. West Ham, we saw some inclusions with Paqueta coming in for Souček, who was out in the previous, who was the one who started the previous game, and we saw some interesting tactical analysis from Lopetegui. Now, before we even begin our analysis, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. So, Chelsea actually scored a quick earlier goal, and this made them to control the game from the initial point, because Chelsea were already 1-0 up and they were looking for a reaction from West Ham. So rather than looking to press West Ham aggressively high, Chelsea were quite conservative. Looking at this clip, you can see how conservative Chelsea were. They were actually only trying to look to press West Ham once the ball was from the goalkeeper and Alvarez had actually dropped into the backline. Chelsea understood what West Ham were trying to do to create those wide overloads. So West Ham lined up with a 4-3-3, but this transitioned into a 3-4-3 in possession, with Kudus and Somerville coming to attack the half space between the fullbacks and the centre backs and play alongside Bowen, while relying heavily on the width generated by Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Emerson. And this would enable Paqueta to play in a slightly withdrawn position, with Alvarez looking to drop in between the two centre backs for West Ham and actually look to form a back three system. But this is where West Ham lost the plot, because they did not have the fullbacks / wing backs to do the job. Particularly Aaron Wan-Bissaka was not quite great offensively. Now this 3-4-3 is how West Ham tried to attack Chelsea. Now you can see from this clip, when Chelsea tried to press them, you can see the position of Alvarez dropping in between the two centre backs, and you can clearly see no fullbacks are in sight. Emerson is not in sight and Aaron Wan-Bissaka is not in sight, because they were instructed to start high and wide. Now this was a problem for West Ham, because now they heavily relied upon their fullbacks, who are not quite great offensively, despite Emerson being slightly offensive. So Chelsea tried to employ that press. That's why Maresca was so pleased with Jackson and Cole Palmer, because Cole Palmer will try to press and deny the ball from being played down the left, force the ball to be played down the right, where Jackson will actually move to press. And the two pivots of Chelsea, that is Caicedo and Fernandes, will stick on to the double pivots of Paqueta and Rodriguez. In this side, we saw Sancho looking to track Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and because Aaron Wan-Bissaka is not quite strong when actually looking to attack, and is more relied upon for his defensive work, Chelsea's backline were comfortable to allow Aaron Wan-Bissaka to have the ball, with Cucurella just looking to mind his own business by trying to look after Kudus. And whenever Aaron Wan-Bissaka tried to find Kudus, Cucurella could either intercept the ball, or when Kudus will receive the ball, Cucurella would focus on Kudus. And once Chelsea received the ball, this is where Chelsea got dangerous. Because West Ham were committing their two fullbacks to play as wing backs, there was always spaces on either side of the back three. And because their centre backs were quite slow and not quite agile, Jadon Sancho in particular could receive the ball and immediately look to play the ball towards the channel. Looking at this clip, you can see Wan-Bissaka has been caught high up the pitch and is trying to turn back. Jackson can see the space. He can see the space on the space vacated by Wan-Bissaka, and Sancho notices the space. He can see Jackson making that run. He plays that run. You can see now Jackson is having the ball with only one centre back and Alvarez having to be the ones to track him. Now Jackson is in a position where he can hurt West Ham very bad. Jackson receives this ball in this position, runs onto the goalkeeper and scores Chelsea's first goal. And this happened after a quick free kick by Chelsea. Now, This thing is something that Chelsea actually did time and time again, and we can even see it from the second goal not from the third goal that Chelsea scored immediately after halftime, because West Ham looked quite sleepy in the initial phases of the first half and in the second half. Now, because Chelsea were in a comfortable position, their main aim was just to try and restrict West Ham, and this was by sitting in a mid 4-4-2 block with their midfielders looking to spring out to win the ball off Paqueta especially, who tried to be ambitious with the ball. And once they received the ball, we could see now Chelsea looking to progress with the ball further. When Chelsea were even much more comfortable and didn't want to give West Ham those passes in behind, because Chelsea started to notice that West Ham were looking to switch the ball a lot to Kudus, they started to drop deep into their own midfield half. They will sit in a deep, narrow 4-4-2 block, allow West Ham to push their fullbacks high up and allow Alvarez to drop deep. Now, Alvarez is good at build-up, but Alvarez is very poor when it comes to his pace and overall defending as a centre-back. And this is why Maresca prefers to build with just centre-backs. Now, in this case, Chelsea's main aim was to try and win the ball in those wide areas. Even we started to see Maresca instructing Noni Madueke from the touchline to drop deep so that he can play as a right wing back, because he wanted to limit Emerson's influence on the game and allow Fofana to deal with Somerville. Remember, initially, even before Fofana got a yellow card, Somerville was really creating problems for Fofana. Kudus on this other side was being tracked by both Cucurella and Colwill, and once Chelsea received the ball, Sancho was the one who would look to launch the counter, because he would receive the ball and look to play Jackson through the channels. So what about Chelsea? What did Chelsea do in possession? Now, Chelsea, yes, the game was almost 50-50 in terms of possession, but this is because Chelsea allowed themselves to be this. But when Chelsea were looking to play from the back, they were very, very brilliant, and you are going to see towards the latter stages of the video how they actually played from the back towards the second goal of the game. Now, you can see the position of Robert Sanchez with the two centre-backs splitting alongside him. Now, Fofana did not actually drop played aggressively high, while Cucurella moved into that inside midfield position. Now, Chelsea were looking to build with a 3-2. Sometimes Fernandes will be the one to drop deep to receive the ball, allowing both Cucurella and Fofana to play wide. Why was this? Because West Ham were trying to limit central progression, and Chelsea identified that the wide areas were the only areas where they would look to actually play from the back. And when Cucurella would actually move in this position, West Ham's front three will try to go man-to-man, and once the ball will be played to Tosin, Tosin will either carry the ball and dribble past Somerville, or he will pass the ball to Fofana. In some instances, West Ham will go so aggressive to deny Chelsea that space, and what we saw is that Robert Sanchez was quite brilliant on the ball, and he could spot Fofana being free in that area. And time again, Chelsea would play that lofted ball to Fofana, who will drive with the ball forward and look to play the ball onto Cole Palmer in those positions. Now, what about when Chelsea were actually having the settled possession structure? Chelsea's settled possession structure was actually the same, because they looked to play with a 3-5 structure. Now, in this 3-5 structure, Fofana will tuck in into the backline, while Cucurella will tuck into midfield, and that is one reason why I'm saying Chelsea were quite solid. Now, looking at this structure, Cucurella is playing close to Caicedo in that midfield. Tosin is the one who's playing as the central centre-back, and you can see Colwill and Fofana who's playing slightly wider, giving them an opportunity. Fofana was playing wider here because they were only using Jared Bowen to press, so there's no need of having three centre-backs at the back. And this actually created problems for West Ham. West Ham even attempted to have the 4-4 structure that has really limited this box midfield, but I told you, Maresca knows how to deal with this. So we started to see Tosin looking to play the ball directly to Caicedo. And because West Ham were trying to compress that space in midfield, because Chelsea overloaded the midfield with Cucurella, Enzo and Caicedo, they started to push their defensive line up. And this is where they were actually creating a trap for themselves, because now Cucurella, Fernandes and Caicedo will be able to play. This created problems for Chelsea, since now Caicedo will spot the space in between the two centre-backs and just play the ball in behind for Nicolas Jackson, and that's how Chelsea scored their second goal. And this leaves us with Chelsea's most dynamic play, how they build up for the second goal. Now, Chelsea's second goal was so interesting because they actually knew how to move the ball well. They actually knew how to control the ball from the defense to the attack. And this is what Chelsea actually did. Now, looking at how Chelsea were playing, you will see that, looking at this clip, you can see Chelsea building from the back. You can see that how West Ham's midfield is quite hollow, and Chelsea were able to play through this midfield. Now, Chelsea are in a back three now. You can see the position of Cucurella, who is actually even dropping at centre-back position. Chelsea are trying to build, West Ham are trying to go man-to-man. You can see the position of Cucurella, Fofana, and Cole Palmer, who's also looking to drop deep into that right wing-back position. And Chelsea are trying to manipulate the ball and play through this midfield. Now, in this case, Chelsea have received the ball, but you can see Caicedo is Caicedo is receiving the ball under pressure, and Cucurella has actually been the one to drop in between Colwill and Tosin, with Fofana playing as a right back. Now, in this position, Fernandes has only one option, and that is to pass the ball backwards. He passes the ball backwards, then the ball gets played back forward to actually Cole Palmer, who dropped deep to receive the ball. Now, Palmer looks to play the ball forward. Now, Alvarez is covering Caicedo, but now Cucurella is free in this position. Cucurella receives the ball in this position, and Palmer automatically looks to make the run forward. Noni Madueke and Sancho are holding the width, while Jackson is actually pushing the defense line deeper. Now, this is creating a problem because Fernandes is the free man in between the lines. The ball is played back to Caicedo, and Caicedo now is receiving the ball with much time and space. Remember the trio I told you in midfield: Caicedo, Cucurella, and Enzo. Now, Chelsea are playing with a dynamic midfield. The midfield is not a box as such. And in this case, Caicedo can spot the ball. Because Palmer had dropped deep, he pulled one centre-back out. And because one centre-back followed Palmer, Caicedo was able to spot the space vacated by that centre-back and play a first-time ball for the runs of Jackson. And that is how Jackson actually managed to have that quick ball, because you can see he has already beaten the centre-back, because the centre-back was actually looking to try and counter Fernandes, who had dropped deep. Sorry, not Palmer. And once he tried to do that, Jackson is able to receive this ball in space and is able to run towards goal. Now, when Jackson is running towards goal, he's free in this position, and Jackson executes one of the most beautiful finishes. He actually scores with his ankle, and this is a very impressive performance because this goal involved the goalkeeper, involved the centre backs, involved the central midfielders, and it showed how Chelsea were able to play through the midfield. This is showing that Chelsea are able to know how to dictate the game. They're able to know how to plan for the game. They're able to know how to actually create problems for the opponents in the team. Now, Palmer and Nicolas Jackson are the only two players in the Premier League who have combined to score the most goals since the start of last season, showcasing how these two players are forming that bond. And the position that Palmer is playing in that number 10 is actually being the creative hub of the team. And him being marked allows players such as Caicedo and Fernandes to expose their strength. Tosin Adarabioyo coming in gave Chelsea much more calmness in the backline, and his aerial strength together with Colwill meant that they were ready to deal with any crosses from the box. Particularly, Tosin was very good in defending set pieces as well as crosses in the box. This is showing that Chelsea can actually form a good centre-back partnership between Tosin and Levi Colwill, making these two aerial dominant centre-backs. And this will actually improve Chelsea's ability to actually score set pieces and defend set pieces. Another shout out is for the Cucurella, who played well, played in that inverted position so perfectly. He understands it. He's actually better than Malo Gusto while inverting. And he might actually be the contributing factor of why Chelsea actually kept a clean sheet in this game. The away supporters were fun, and hopefully the home supporters can be patient and give a conducive environment for the team to thrive at Stamford Bridge. Thank you for joining us in our analysis today, and see you next time.